Hey guys, what's going on? Megan here. Top 40 things you can do to fall asleep extremely fast. You guys know the importance of sleep for muscle growth, testosterone, energy, mood, cognitive function, blah, blah, blah. But the $1 million question is, Megan, how do I fall asleep faster? Right? Not only you have to fall asleep fast, but you also have to sleep longer. But that's a different video. So I'm going to rank all of these things using my experience. You guys know I've been battling insomnia forever. So I'm going to use my experience. I'm going to use the scientific literature as always. And the third thing, I'm going to use the experience of the people that I coach and stuff like that and their feedback. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys what allowed me to finally fall asleep over the years. And hopefully this helps you guys out. Now I'm going to rank them based on how fast they knock you out. So for instance, Ngannou knockout power, of course. Next going to be Mike Tyson knockout power. That's going to make you fall asleep extremely fast. You got Alex Pereira knockout power. Max Holloway, that's average, right? We got Dominic Cruz knockout power, which obviously you guys should know that means this is not going to make you fall asleep fast. We got Smigo knockout power, so that's the worst, the least effective method. And you got Never Do This, right? That's the one that's actually going to keep you awake, right? All right, let's get straight to it. So let's see, earmuffs, obviously, earmuffs. I'm going to put those at Alex Pereira knockout power, right? Guys, you want to fall asleep. One of the most important things is, right, it's common sense. Don't be disrupted. Don't let things disrupt your sleep. If you got loud roommates, you got, like in my situation, it's fuck ass kids always making sounds. If you have dogs, if you live in a busy street, right, you can't afford for random noises to keep you awake. So I highly recommend, they're very cheap. And again, I'm not sponsored by any of them. I highly recommend that you guys invest in some earmuffs, right? Something new, block out the sound, right? If you have a gun at home already, then you should already have, the ones that you use for the shooting range. So you could use those as well. You don't have to buy an additional one. They're very, very good at blocking out sounds. Now, they might be a little uncomfortable when you try to fall asleep, but work your way around that. Next, I'm gonna pick them at random, guys. We have comedy. I'm gonna put comedy at. I'm gonna put at Max Holloway knockout power. Right. I'm gonna put in average. And believe it or not, comedy helps fall asleep. Why? Because comedy calms you down. It lowers your sympathetic nervous system activation, and it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. Right. So anything that calms you down, that lowers your stress, that lowers your cortisol, is gonna help you fall asleep. So I highly recommend before bed, right? Obviously, you want to make sure that the blue lights are not messing up with your melatonin. But I highly recommend laughing, right? Just do things that make you laugh. If you're going to bed around 10, then around 9 p.m., you should already start doing your night routine, right? So comedy is very underrated, right? Watch Dave Chappelle, watch Rick and Morty, South Park, whatever it is that makes you laugh. For me, those do it every fucking time. I could be having the worst day. Dave Chappelle, ever since I was young, I laugh just thinking about it. Ever since I was a teenager, to this day, you could show me any Dave Chappelle skit, any South Park episode, Family Guy, whatever, and I'm gonna laugh my ass off. So it really helps lower your cortisol. Next, we have anything that increases your sympathetic nervous system. So anything that increases your fight or flight, anything that puts you in a high adrenaline state. Never do this. Never do this, guys. And a lot of you guys make this mistake. You have a hard time falling asleep because before bed, you're doing things that upregulate your sympathetic nervous system, right? And that includes a lot of things, which you're going to see on this list soon. So make sure before bed, you don't do anything that gets you angry. You don't do anything that makes you super focused. Believe it or not, you don't want to be super focused because that's going to require dopamine and noradrenaline, norepinephrine, depending on which country you're in. And we clearly don't want that. Next, drinking milk, right? That works for a lot of people, right? Drinking some hot milk before bed. I'm gonna put that at Max Holloway, right? Because it doesn't work on everybody, right? For me personally, it works, but some people don't feel anything. But milk tends to help people fall asleep. Next, we have stress, right? Anything that increases your stress levels, anything that increases cortisol. A lot of you guys like planning the night before while you're in bed. No, you don't want anything that's going to stress you out, right? So I'm going to put this at never do this, right? You want to avoid stress as much as possible before bed. And I know it's easier said than done, but Try your best. Next, we have meditation. I'm going to put that at Max Holloway knockout power, right? That's going to help you fall asleep fast within 2 to 5 minutes. The reason I'm not putting it higher is because a lot of you guys are so bad at focusing that you have a hard time meditating, and that's going to stress you out in itself, right? So we kind of get the opposite effect most of the time. But meditation is something you guys should be doing every day anyway. As low as 2 to 5 minutes a day is better than nothing. And that will definitely help you, once you get good at it, it's going to help you clear your mind and fall asleep. All right. Next, we have taking a hot shower. Taking a hot shower before bed. I'm going to put that Alex knockout power, right? Guys, people really underestimate how effective a hot shower is. Obviously it's gonna, I could go into the mechanisms, but make sure it's not like burning hot, of course, right? But make sure it's hot enough, so that when you get out of the shower, your body temperature, adjusts, right? It's gonna pretty much have a rebound effect where it's gonna lower your body temperature and allow you to fall asleep. So definitely try this if you have issues falling asleep. Next, we have busting a nut. Man, I'm gonna put this at Francis Ngannou knockout power. It is so underrated. Busting the nut is so underrated when it comes to falling asleep. Guys, you could have the worst insomnia ever, assuming that you're doing some of the other things right. And busting a nut, and yes, I don't care if you beat your meat. Obviously, don't make it a habit. But ideally, if you have a girl, obviously, do it that way. But either way, busting a nut is going to knock you out. People say, well, Megan, it's going to increase prolactin. That's exactly why it's going to help you fall asleep. You idiots don't know the effects of these hormones. Everybody thinks one hormone is good and one hormone is bad. That's not how it works. Hormones have many effects, and even prolactin is a needed hormone. I know it gets a bad rep, just like cortisol, right? We have to simplify and dumb things down for you guys, but no hormone is inherently good or bad. They all have bad and beneficial effects. Same thing with testosterone, my favorite hormone, right? And DHT, they all have good and bad effects. And prolactin plays a huge role in modulating sleep, especially deep sleep, REM sleep, which is where most of your testosterone is produced anyway. So, not to mention that prolactin and dopamine have an inverse relationship. Dopamine lowers prolactin, vice versa, blah, blah, blah. And you do not want high dopamine levels when you're about to fall asleep. So that's one of the reasons why people tend to be sleepy after sex, especially men, and after busting nuts. So if you have a hard time falling asleep, again, don't use this as a license to jerk off every night and become addicted to porn, right? Because people love to strawman everything I say, But find a way to bust a nut. Have a girlfriend, have a booty call, whatever. Worst case scenario, stroke it. Yes, stroke it. If that's going to make you fall asleep, do it. All right? Don't listen to all these semen retention idiots out there. I could show you millions and millions of successful men who bust nuts, sleep, wake up the next day ready to conquer the day. All right? So anyway, next we have reading before bed. I'm going to put that one at Dominic Cruz knockout power, right? Because if it's a really engaging book, that's actually going to keep you awake because it's going to increase dopamine and it might even increase acetylcholine. Whereas if it's a boring ass book, then that might actually make you fall asleep. I remember back in the days when I was going through my religious phase, around 16 or 17 years old, I was, that's when I was reading the Bible over and over and over again, and then eventually the Quran, and that would make me fall asleep. So that was one of my biggest issues back then, was trying to stay awake. And I was like, wait, let me use that as a hack to actually fall asleep. But eventually, the Bible and the Quran became very interesting, so it had the opposite effect. But yeah, reading, I'm going to put that at Dominic Cruz knockout power. It's not too effective, depending on how engaging the book is. Next, we got texting hoes. A lot of you guys like doing that. All your dating sites you on, whatever, texting hoes at night. I'm going to put this at never do this. Don't do this before bed. It's going to keep you awake, right? It's going to keep you stressed out depending on their response. It's going to keep you excited if their response is positive. Now, if it's going to lead to them coming over and obviously, helping you bust a nut, then great. I'm going to put it higher. But a lot of you guys have a low batting average anyway. So no, don't text hoes before bed. It's going to stress you out, especially if your triple S score sucks, and it's going to keep you awake. Next, we have eating a big, large meal right before bed. I'm going to put this at never do this. That's actually going to keep you awake, right? Because your body temperature is going to go through the roof as your body's trying to digest this, as well as the gut, the stomach discomfort and all that stuff. So never do this. Next, we have morning sunlight. Obviously, I'm going to put this at Mike Tyson knockout power. You guys heard me beat a dead horse about this. Watch the video that I made on sunlight years ago before it was even popular. You guys already know when you wake up, get morning sunlight to your eyes. And that's definitely going to help you fall asleep because it's going to set your circadian rhythm and it's going to make you fall asleep about 16 hours after that time. If you want more details, watch my video on sunlight. Next, we have trend. Taking trend. I'm using trend, but really any aggressive, androgenic anabolic steroid, right? Anything that's going to be, especially the DHT derivatives, anything that's fast acting as well, anything that has short esters. I'm using trend. It should be funny, but it could be anything, right? Never do this, right? Like I said, especially the big culprits, the ones that actually put your sympathetic nervous system into high gear. Avoid that as much as possible, right? Your aggression is going to be through the roof. Your dopamine signaling is going to be too high. And remember, when you're natural, your body can actually do things to lower your androgens, right? Whereas if you enhance, it's a constantly high, stimulation and upregulation of your sympathetic nervous system, right? So avoid doing those brutal, aggressive PEDs, right? And I'm talking about not just trying halotestin, obviously high dose anadrol, high dose superdrol. What else? Avoid check drops. Anything that's gonna put you into that high fight or flight warrior mode is terrible for sleep. And if you're on trend, you already know the trend cough is gonna fuck you up. So next we have smoking. Smoking. Never do this. I mean, do you need an explanation why, right? Not only are you going to upregulate your SNS, but you're also going to increase acetylcholine signaling. You're going to increase the activation of the acetylcholine receptor, and that's clearly going to keep you awake because you're going to be in that focused state. So not to mention that's also going to increase dopamine depending on how sensitive you are to the effect. So definitely avoid doing that close to bedtime. Next, we have taking naps close to bedtime. Again, never do this for obvious reasons. If you take a nap way too close to bedtime, you're going to have a hard time falling asleep. Common sense. Let's see. Lifting heavy ass weights too close to bedtime. Again, never do this. You see a lot of habits you motherfuckers break, right? Avoid lifting heavy weights close to bedtime. When I say close, even 5 hours close to bedtime, in my opinion, is too close, right? Especially if you're doing heavy deadlifts, heavy squats, heavy OHPs, anything that increases, once again, your sympathetic nervous system is gonna keep you awake. And the issue with lifting super heavy weights is you could have such an increase in adrenaline that it will actually keep you awake all the way to 3, 4, 5 a.m. Trust me, been there, done that several times. Next, we have covering your eyes, right? So wearing anything that covers your eyes. I'm going to put that at Max Holloway knockout power. Right? It's not going to make you fall asleep faster, but it's definitely going to help because it's going to block out the blue lights and all that stuff. Having a consistent sleep schedule. So that means going to bed around the same time every night, ideally around 9 to 11 p.m. So 10 p.m. is the sweet spot. I'm going to put that at Mike Tyson knockout power, right? You guys have hormones all over the place. Your melatonin is out of whack. Your serotonin is out of whack. Your prolactin, your cortisol, all your hormones are messed up. And a lot of those are going to balance themselves out when you start going to bed around a consistent time, as well as doing everything else, right? You can't do any of those things by themselves. Next, we have, drinking alcohol. Obviously, never do this. What? Come on. Not only the headache is going to keep you awake, the inflammation, the liver damage, it's not worth it, right? And for some people, you're actually going to get an increase in dopamine, which is the last thing you want to do before bed. Next, getting a lot of steps, at least 10,000 steps a day, ideally more. I'm going to put that at Mike Tyson knockout power. Another reason why you guys struggle with falling asleep is you are sedentary. You don't move enough, right? Minimum 10,000 steps a day, ideally more, right? 12, 14, 15. Nowadays I shoot for 20,000 minimum, and it knocks me out by the time I come home. Let's see. The best combo is getting all your steps and clapping cheeks. That is the best combo. Let's see. Next, we have sleeping in a hot room, right? If you're living in those countries where it's hot as balls all the time, this one is never do this. Remember, your body temperature has to drop significantly for you to fall asleep. So if it's too hot, definitely fix that. Get an air conditioner, a fan, something. And try sleeping butt ass naked. That's also gonna help you regulate your body temperature. Next, counting sheep. Count these nuts. This thing never works. I get mad because I remember when I used to struggle with sleep, I used to look up articles and all that stuff, and everyone was like, "Oh, count sheep, count sheep." That shit never worked for me. That shit actually kept me awake. These fuck ass sheep. I'm gonna put that SmeagOL knockout power, right? If it works for you, great. But from my experience and from the people that I talk to and coach, this is not as effective. Next, drinking a lot of water right before bed. Never do this, right? Because you're gonna, even if you're about to fall asleep, you're gonna get up to go pee, and that's gonna fuck up the rest of your night, right? So do not drink a lot of water before bed. Obviously, you guys know I'm a big proponent of being hydrated all the time, but make sure you drink the majority of your water early in the day. Next, we have melatonin, taking a melatonin supplement. Unfortunately, even though you guys know my stance to supplements, I have to be objective. Them hoes work, man. They work. Mike Tyson knockout power. But my recommendation is don't spam them, right? Use them as a backup plan. Like I always say, supplements are not bad as long as you know how to use them correctly. Use them as a backup plan. So taking melatonin should be an emergency break the glass type of scenario. You should not do this every freaking day to fall asleep. It's if you tried everything else and nothing worked, and you notice that it's getting late, 11 p.m., midnight, then boom, right? Obviously, not medical advice. Consult your fuck ass doctor before you make any changes. Let's see. The fuck is this one? Oh yeah, magnesium. Magnesium, especially magnesium glycinate. So I'm gonna put that at Alex Pereira. Yeah, knockout power. Very good to help you sleep, but I'm not putting it higher because if your diet is already high in magnesium, it's not going to do much. Now, the glycinate version obviously has a slight edge, but again, it's not something that you should be doing every single day for the rest of your life, right? Your diet should already be high in magnesium. Next, we have sparring, doing MMA, boxing, jiu-jitsu late in the evening. Come on, guys, never do this. And 9 out of 10 times, most of you guys are sparring in the evening. Right, and I get it. It's because a lot of these places, based on their schedules, they're usually active or open in the evening. But you guys got to find a workaround. You got to find a way around that. Sparring late in the day is terrible, terrible for sleep, right? Because your fight or flight is going to be on, your adrenaline is going to be high, and trust me, just because you came home, that doesn't mean those chemicals are out of your system. A lot of times they're going to stay in your system for hours, depending on what happened during the session. So, I'm sorry, but do not do sparring late in the day. Let's see. Training early in the morning, yes. I'm going to put that, as long as you're training hard, by the way, I'm going to put that at Mike Tyson knockout power. Doing a full body workout early in the day, especially if you got your morning sunlight and all that stuff, and then doing your steps later on, oh my goodness, you're going to be so tired around 5, 6, 7 p.m., right? And it's one of the best things you can do for sleep quality. Try it. Do a full body workout early in the morning. Get your steps afterward, and watch how tired and sleepy you are late in the day, right? Not to mention you don't have to worry about, the whole caffeine issue, right? Because the issue with working out late in the day is if you take pre-workouts, you screwed, right? Because now the caffeine is going to be in your system. Which brings me here. Pre-workout. Taking pre-workouts in the evening or even after 3 p.m. Never do this, guys. What are you doing? It's caffeine. It has a very long half-life. It's going to stay in your system for a very long time. Depending on your genetics, depending on how fast or slow you metabolize caffeine. And that's going to keep you awake. So I tell most people, try to avoid caffeine. And that includes coffee, obviously. Try to avoid it after 10 a.m., Now, if you desensitize to caffeine, it's a different issue, but you shouldn't be desensitized anyway. That means you've been spamming coffee or caffeine way too much. And that's another reason why people shouldn't work out too late in the day is because a lot of you guys work out with pre-workouts. See? So now you training late in the day, you're increasing your adrenaline, you're increasing your SNS, right? And on top of that, you're adding caffeine. Of course, you motherfuckers can't sleep. Next, we have sleep apnea. A lot of you guys have sleep apnea without even knowing it. If you don't know, make sure, obviously, ask your partner, ask your roommates. Well, you shouldn't be sleeping next to your roommate. No dating, but another thing you could do is try using those apps, right? Try using those apps that record your sleep, and they'll let you know. A lot of guys have sleep apnea and don't even know it. So if you have sleep apnea, well, obviously, never do this, right? Don't have sleep apnea. It's gonna fuck up your sleep. It's gonna make it very hard to fall asleep because as you fall asleep, you're gonna gas for air, wake up again, and then the whole thing is gonna keep on repeating. So, next, white noise sounds, right? So those very very loud white noise sounds. I'm gonna put this at, oof, I'm gonna put this at Mike Tyson, right? At least for me, those things work like a charm, right? Because now I don't have to hear the fuck ass kids anymore. I don't have to hear the dog growling. I don't have to hear the neighbors. Nothing, right? So very very good for falling asleep. And in fact, you can keep that bitch on all night, right? This way, if any loud noises happen at night, you fine. Now the downside, the reason why I'm not putting it higher, is because it only works if you're doing everything else as well, right? Also, I mean, there's a risk that you're not gonna hear somebody breaks into your house, but yeah, I mean, I don't fucking know, right? It depends. If you live in a sketchy ass neighborhood, then I guess you could push this down, but I don't know. Find a way around that, you know. Next, we have taking a cold shower before bed. Never do this. Never take a cold shower before bed, and never take, and that includes ice baths, right? What are you doing? It's gonna spike your dopamine, spike your noradrenaline, spike your adrenaline as well, right? So all three of your main catecholamines are gonna be up, right? That's not gonna help you fall asleep. Next, we have anything that increases dopamine, any dopamine agonist. Again, never do this. Anything that increases dopamine, you're going to run the risk of eventually converting that dopamine to noradrenaline and eventually adrenaline, right? Not to mention that when you're trying to go to bed, you want the opposite. You don't want dopamine high. You want dopamine high early in the day, right? When you go to bed, you want prolactin and serotonin high. It's the complete opposite. Remember, homeostasis. Next, we have weighted blanket. This is goated, right? I'm going to put that at Alex Pereira knockout power. I'm not going to put it higher because you also have to do everything else right. But having a nice weighted blanket combined with some air conditioner, oh, you're going to sleep like a baby. Next, you have watching porn before bed, right? Now, this one is tricky, right? Because first of all, you shouldn't have porn addiction to begin with, right? And you shouldn't make it a habit. But not only are you getting the blue lights, right? You're getting the light into your eyes. That's going to mess you up. But you obviously, actually, because this might actually lead to you busting several nuts. So I'm going to put that Smeagol knockout power, right? The only reason I'm putting it higher than never do this is simply because if you end up busting a nut, then it's a win. It's going to help you fall asleep. But I'm not going to put it higher because this should not be your main method of going to bed, right? Because you're definitely going to get erectile dysfunction eventually if you do this every single night. It's going to desensitize you. So let's see. Next, having an elevated pillow, right? So make sure you're sleeping at an incline, especially if you have sleep apnea. I'm going to put that at, if you have sleep apnea, I'm going to put this higher. If you don't have sleep apnea, I'm going to put this at Max Holloway knockout power. All right. Next, we have anything that increases GABA, right? Anything that increases GABA. So I'm going to put this at Francis and Ngannou knockout power. Obviously, you need GABA to fall asleep. That's what benzodiazepines do, is that really activate the GABA receptor. Simplified explanation. So anything that increases GABA is going to help you fall asleep. Obviously, don't take drugs. I'm going to get straw man, but I'm talking about natural means of increasing GABA. Next, we have anything that increases your parasympathetic nervous system. Mike Tyson knockout power, right? That's going to help you calm down and fall asleep. Let's see. Which one should I do next? Let's pick this one. Being exhausted before bed. Francis Ngannou knockout power. Guys, I've been saying this over and over again. One of the main reasons why you guys have a hard time falling asleep is because you have too much energy. You're not expanding your energy throughout the day, right? Make sure you're exhausted before bed. Around 7 or 8 p.m., you should be done with your 10 to 20,000 steps. You should have went to the gym in the morning. You should have done your schoolwork, your cognitive work, ran your business, spent time with friends and family. You should be exhausted. It is hard to fall asleep when you do not have high levels of adenosine in your system, right? So you gotta expend energy throughout the day, guys. All right, next, let's go fast. We're down to the last two. So blue lights, right? Having blue lights, electrical, having artificial lights in your face at night, right? Never do this. That's gonna keep you awake. And unfortunately, you guys do this at night. You lay in bed and you have your phone blasting, light into your eyes, and you wonder why you have a hard time falling asleep. You keeping your melatonin suppressed. And last but not least, eating a big carbohydrate meal, not close to bedtime, but I would say about 3 hours before bed. Francis Ngannou knockout power. That's gonna knock you the fuck out, right? It's gonna increase obviously serotonin. It's gonna increase prolactin later on. It's gonna lower cortisol. It's gonna lower your stress, and it's gonna help you fall asleep super fast. All right, guys, that's it. Join the SKOOL community while it's still free, and don't forget to support the channel. Grab the ebooks. Blah blah blah. I'm out.